Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I am Olga Vasquez de Leon, and I just want to welcome you all to the 2026, spring 2026 Service Learning Orientation. So a little bit about myself. I'm a third year student here at DUC. I'm majoring in bio, minoring in chemistry, and community action and social change. I'm currently on the pre-med track while also exploring other graduate programs. I also serve as an education dedicated to justice and equity fellow, also known as EDGE, which allows me to work closely with the Center of Community Engagement here at Dominican, right here in the library. I'm actually in one of their offices right now to support service learning students like yourselves, collaborate with community partners, and help center equity and reflection throughout these experiences. Before we begin, it's really nice to have you all here. I just want to invite us to take a deep breath together. For many of you, this is your first week back from winter break, and everyone in this space today is new to service learning, and I think that's something we all share. Today is a space created just for our service learners. We're going to be going over logistics, sharing stories, and spending time talking about what the service learning truly means. There's something meaningful about starting the semester by grounding ourselves in purpose and community. So, since 2004, Dominican students have contributed to over 200,000 hours of community engagement each year. Our partners, faculty, and courses continue to grow. But behind every number are people, relationships, and moments of learning that can be captured by statistics alone. So if you're feeling nervous or unsure, know that you're not alone. Okay, about 80% of students take a service learning course for the first time when they arrive here at DUC. That's exactly why this orientation exists, to remind you that you don't have to have everything figured out just yet. So what we do know is this: 93% of our students say their experience connects directly to their academic goals and personal goals beyond the classroom. Learning alongside community members and engaging with complex social and community challenge experiences isn't typical for most college classes, and that's precisely what makes this experience so powerful. One thing I want to emphasize early on is that community engagement is not the same as community service. We use this term very intentionally. What you learn in the classroom is thoughtfully connected to what you'll experience at your site. So learning continues through relationships, observation, and reflection. Now, the big question, what is service learning? So at its core, service learning is the intentional connection between academics and lived experiences. In your course, you're going to be encountering theories, frameworks, and concepts. At your community site, you'll see what those ideas look like when they meet people and lived circumstances. So most of you will be spending about 2 hours each week at your site. These hours are about noticing, listening, and reflecting. Reflection is what turns experience into learning, which helps you connect what you observe back to your coursework and your own values as well. Now, a little bit about my own personal story. My family and I are from Guatemala, and we immigrated to the US when my brother and I were in grade school. Growing up, I learned early on that human relationships and community are essential, and my parents taught us that relationships should be at the center of our lives. Now, during my first semester here at DUC, I enrolled in a service learning course for the very first time, just like many of you here today, and I was placed at San Rafael High School. I was a mentor and tutor, and I think this experience was transformative for me. It was the first time since moving here to the US where I built connections with other students from Guatemala through our shared experiences, and I was able to witness how much they could grow with support, care, and encouragement. That experience then led me on to take cultural anthropology my second semester. I've always been deeply curious about people, how we connect and make meaning together. And from there, I worked with other community partners, particularly Canal Alliance, where I learned that while many of us may share the label immigrant, each person carries their own story, strengths, and challenges. Now, at Canal Alliance, I encountered their mission, which deeply resonated with my upbringing, right? Prioritizing these human relationships. They create spaces rooted in trust, safety, and dignity. And I think that really has shaped my academic work here as well. And it's allowed me to weave community engagement directly into the classroom. Now, one of my most meaningful experiences as of late is Rotacare Marin, which is a free medical clinic serving uninsured and underinsured community members here in San Rafael and also the Bay Area. I worked as an interpreter and a volunteer supporting patients as they navigate their appointments and unfamiliar healthcare systems. So being able to explain each step and simply sit with patients reminded me what healthcare is about. It's truly just treatment and trust. This work continues to shape how I think about medicine, ethics, and community-based care. Now, I have some advice for your Give Pulse, which we'll explain a little bit more about later on. But my biggest service learning tip would be, again, to prioritize these relationships, right? Be present, be observant, listen closely, share stories, and ask questions with genuine curiosity. Most importantly, keep track of your reflections on Give Pulse while they're still fresh in your mind. This will be very, very helpful is particularly towards the end of the semester when you'll be working on your final projects or papers. Again, these reflections are saved there for you, and that's what's really going to help you connect your experiences back to your coursework. And, just leaving you all with this, the beauty of service learning, it doesn't just show how you see others, but how you see yourself and your place in the world. Okay, now enough about me and my tips. I want to hear from you. So, everyone, please grab your phone and scan the QR code that is being presented to you right now. Okay? Okay, now let's move to our first question, which is what are the first words or word that come to mind when you think about service learning? Okay, service, community learning, good. Volunteer engagement, inclusion. I really, really like these. Okay. More service, selflessness, volunteering, responsibility, students, empathy, responsibility. These are actually all very, very good words. These are incredible responses, okay? Everyone seems to have a good understanding of what service learning is about already, which is great. Okay. We love to see this. And now moving on to our second question, which is, why did you learn in a service learning course this semester? Okay, fit into my schedule. That's actually how I took my very first service learning class as well. Work closely with the community, explore careers. Okay, interested in social justice. That's awesome. You should think about maybe coming and chat with one of your Edge fellows once our office hours are here. We can talk to you a little bit more about the programs and minors. Okay, these are all excellent responses. A lot of us seem to have picked a service learning course this semester because it fit into our schedule, and that's totally okay as well. This is awesome. Okay, so I want to thank everyone for participating, and now I want to pass things off to another Edge fellow, Annie.
Thank you so much, Olga. Hello, everybody. My name is Annie. I'm also an Edge Fellow here at Dominican, and I'm in my second semester of my freshman year. I'm a social justice major with a history minor. I grew up in Sacramento with my parents, siblings, and grandparents. Early in my life, we mainly lived in predominantly Latino neighborhoods, so I grew up being surrounded by people that also grew up with a similar culture, whether it was language, food, holidays, and more. So because of this, I had an early exposure to the injustices that Latinos and immigrants face within the United States, like deportation, barriers to citizenship, financial and housing insecurity, and discrimination overall. So even at a young age, like several other of the kids around me that I grew up with, I was familiar with some of the inequities that are still present within the US. In my first couple of days at Dominican, I had very little idea what service learning was or how it worked. But I had two service learning courses my first semester. So I was nervous and really confused, but I was also very curious because, people would always talk about it and bring it up. And I'm like, oh, what is that? So I was a little bit of everything. I started with the Presente program at the Multicultural Center of Marin here in downtown San Rafael, which is a program that focuses on empowering Latino high schoolers from the Novato to the Canal area. It was confusing at first, especially working with Give Pulse and trying to figure out how that site worked. But I soon learned that I enjoy connecting the interactions that I have outside of class to the things that we're learning inside the classroom. And it got easier over time. I began to put my experiences into a broader context and identify them with vocabulary that could describe them. My positive experience with service learning pushed me to become more involved on campus, and I began to meet more like-minded people like myself, and decided to start a social justice club. So, if any of you are interested in meeting other students with similar areas of interest within activism, politics, or just want to connect with other like-minded people, we'll be sending out more information in the weekly emails sent by Jenny herself. So, pay attention to those. Um, And my service learning tip for you all today is be there when you'll say you'll be there. Treat service learning practically the same way you would a job. But in the case that there are changes in your plans, always inform your partner first and then your professor or faculty. But keep being absent as a last resort. Not showing up will eventually affect your ability to perform well in your class, and staying on track with your hours. And showing up with a community partner that you're engaged and could lead you to form new or unexpected relationships that can connect you to help you learn many things. If you need support with anything like give pulse, reflections, etc., like Jenny and Olga mentioned, come to the service learning office. Us Edge Fellows would love to help you, and we have office hours to meet you guys, or you could ask the staff any questions that you have. But I want to emphasize again that showing up is important, even if it is something that isn't comfortable at first. You never know what might come out of it. I did my best to show up consistently and was able to connect with staff and students through small things like food or interests or culture. I used to be a very shy person, so I know how daunting experience like this can be. But if you keep finding small things to talk over, or even just commit to being polite, asking questions, and communicating, you'll be fine. Um, so thank you for hearing me out. And now I want to pass it over to Kiani.
Thank you. Hi everyone. My name's Kiani. I'm a fourth year senior this year. I'm a political science and social justice major, and I'm also on the women's basketball team here. So come out to some games and see us hoop. I'm super excited to share a little bit about my service learning journey. I've had a good, nice opportunity to kind of work all over San Rafael and Marin. Being a social justice major, I'm in a service learning course every semester, so you'll get different list of options for each course. So I've changed a couple times, but each one has been like an amazing experience, and I've learned something new at all of them. For example, um, at the food bank was where I started, and I just learned that kind of starting a conversation, a simple hi, whether it's the people you're working with or the people coming in for support, you just get a whole different vibe switch when you actually put the effort in to like get them talking too. And that will help too with your give pulse like responses and answers. And then second, I worked at Bridge the Gap, which is with kiddos. And I learned that the younger generation right now is definitely looking up to us. So being there for support, friendly face, a nice smile, just spending time with them definitely is like a great connection to have. And then most recently, I have fallen in love with a AAPI senior social gathering group, and that has become one of my favorite things to do throughout my week. I look forward to it all the time, and just interacting with an older generation is definitely a huge learning like opportunity for both sides. I think they take things from me and I take things from them. One thing I'm trying to teach them right now is technology and phones, and it hasn't been going the best, but we're getting somewhere. And one thing that I've learned from them is kind of just not to be afraid if you don't share the same language as someone else. There's so many different ways to communicate with hand gestures and just kind of being creative and present and just taking the time to start that conversation with them. I think and just like always remembering to be super patient with them, and they'll be patient with you too. So with that, like I think what went really well for me in that experience is just sharing that willingness to learn and take time with each other. What makes all of this super meaningful to me is that I've learned how to balance taking these service learning courses with a super busy schedule. Like I mentioned, I'm an athlete here, so with basketball, school, and work, it wasn't always the easiest thing to find time with my community partner, but we always made it work. And it's been really hard, but really nice to know that like you are capable to do this, whether it's busy or not. Um, and I think it's a huge life lesson to learn because once we graduate, like we're going to have a bunch of stuff that we need to do. So learning how to take the time to balance everything out in life now is like a really big step. Um, I think one of the coolest parts about service learning also is seeing how it connects back to our own parts of our life. For example, some of my community partners have showed up to a couple of my games and showed that they're supporting me too, which I think is really cool. Like once you make those connections, you're building your own little community and family here at Dominican, and it's really fun and nice to like be a part of. Um, I take it as a really super like good feeling. Um, and then my biggest tip I could give anyone going into community partners and stuff is probably choosing to be present in the moment. Um, no matter how busy you are or how busy your mind may be, choosing to be present can save you from missing any key important interactions, and it will allow you to have more information to share with your class or on your Give Pulse entries for your class writings and assignments. And that will all be needed to be done throughout your semester. So when you really take the time to be present, you'll be able to get all of that done easier than you think you will. With all of that being said, we're going to go into talking about some of our self-paced modules. Um, After this, there'll be a link and you can go through each module where there will be some readings, some slides, some videos from different voices. So you'll kind of just go through it at your own pace, take your time to dive in, learn new things about this opportunity. It will probably take you like 5 to 10 minutes for each one. And again, it's at your own pace, so take your time. Once you get through it, it will lead you to an exit ticket and you'll answer a couple questions, your name and all those good things. And then you'll answer a couple questions about the readings and videos. And once you're done finishing that up, you'll get sent a PDF. Once you have the PDF, you'll want to submit it to any of your professors that you're taking a SL course with, just so they have it. I'm sure they've mentioned it in class already. Um, and then another cool site is our DUC service learning site, and you can find Give Pulse through here. Here will be a list of all your courses, and once you click on your course, you'll find a list of the community partners that your course has to offer you to work with. So you can just go through there. We made it nice and easy, so you'll see the days and times when you first look at it, and then there'll be a little description of what you would be doing there. Um, I think just take time to see what fits in your schedule, what will make it easy to balance, and then really dive in and see what interests you or stands out. And if there's any like problem finding something that like you're super interested in or doesn't work with your schedule, just reach out to your faculty. They're always super sweet and willing to work with you. And there are other options if needed. Or reach out to us. We can always help you to talk to them. And also this website is full of like a lot of different things, the different minors, the social justice options. So if you are thinking about that, you can take time to read, like maybe after you do the modules, take time to kind of look into things that we offer here and what you can get access to. So then that leads us back to our being present and communication part. Just some small reminders when you're there. Cell phones go put away, put it down, dress work casual. Finding ways to engage is super easy. Just start with a hi. And if you're struggling, talk to your faculty. They're always so nice and like will help you with that in any way. And then contact the direct supervisor. I would say the very first day, ask them what works best for them, text or email, And once you figure that out, like always keep in contact with them, let them know if you're going to miss or running late or anything like that. So next we're going to be talking um, kind of about this big question of how do I get there? Driving's always an option. Carpooling's also a great option. But the easiest way to find that is if you head to Google Maps and you can put in wherever you're headed. And once you get there, you'll see different transportation options. So biking, walking, driving, and then there's even a transit option to where you can see the local like transportation options you'll have. And just take the time to figure out how long it's going to take you to get there and plan ahead. I would say is the best thing. Just make sure you're getting there on time and have the right option for you. But it's very easy to find what's going to work best. Lastly, if you ever want to come say hi to us or have any questions, you can find us in the library. We're like first door to the right. You'll run into one of us. We'll also be holding fingerprinting, and some of the trainings will be held there. For fingerprinting, my biggest tip would be to bring your real ID, because I always bring my student ID and you're going to need your real one. But come say hi, ask us any questions. We're always here to support you.
And thank you so much. We'll hand things over to Katie Ann, another one of our Edge Fellows.
Hi everyone, my name is Katie Ann. I'm a senior chemistry major here at Dominican with minors in global public health as well as community action and social change. And my journey with service learning actually began my freshman year. My first class here, one of my first classes here at Dominican was service learning. And I kind of just got swept into it, as I'm sure most of you are. And I just kind of stuck with it. I honestly fell in love with doing service learning. I began with Next Generation Scholars, which is like a tutoring service downtown in San Rafael. And so I worked with middle school students to teach them like math and stuff. And so from there, I learned how to build connections with students who were younger than me. And that was it was my first position in the sense that I felt like a mentor to another. And that service learning opportunity kind of inspired my role to become an Edge Fellow here at Dominican, as well as other opportunities such as being a peer mentor and stuff. And so that insight, it's kind of something that is dear to me, just because I had spent so much time with those students and we had formed such a deep connection to the point where they would ask me like, oh, how's your time at Dominican? Or let's take a picture of my Snapchat or something. And it was just those little tidbits that would help me get through the week. And it really brightened up my time here at Dominican too. And then following that in my junior year, I did another service learning class throughout the whole 2 semesters. And so I worked with Downtown Streets team for the full year. And at Downtown Streets team, I learned a lot about not judging a book by its cover. And, you know, we always talk about it in classes, and especially in our service learning classes, we emphasize it a lot too. However, I think it's different when you put it in practice. With Downtown Streets team, I was working with homeless populations and we were doing beautification projects downtown in San Rafael. And so in that experience, I was able to actually have one-on-one conversations with these individuals and learn their stories and learn their truth. Something that is apart from the actual like media representation of them. And so from that experience, I really gained a lot and I learned a lot about downtown San Rafael and how the San Rafael community is as a whole. And then ending my years here at Dominican, I actually finished my last service learning class last semester with the Ritter Center. And at the Ritter Center, I learned how to communicate with people, just like Keone mentioned, in a way that didn't just pertain to language. Like a lot of them, we had a language barrier between us. And so when they would come to get groceries at the Ritter Center, we wouldn't really know what to say to each other because they spoke Spanish and I only spoke English. And so we learned a way to communicate through hand gestures as well as like facial expressions. And by the time my last shift ended, I was kind of sad to leave because I was like, I had formed a little community there, and there was people who would like brighten up when they would see me at the window and stuff. And so to me, service learning has had a big impact throughout my time here at Dominican. I feel like I've really connected not just with the community of Dominican, but also with the community of San Rafael. And I've met a lot of great people, and I've heard so many stories from individuals that it's really going to carry my applications into graduate school, and it's really streamlined what I am really passionate about with graduate programs as well as applying to like med school this coming June. But my tip for the service learning program and when you guys all start, maybe if this is your first service learning class, is to be present in the moment, just like Keone mentioned, but also to be curious, to ask questions. I think this opportunity is definitely something where I know on the poll, a lot of you guys were like, oh, this only fits in my schedule, or like this is the only class that might fit. However, this is really an opportunity where you can learn and grow as an individual. And what you put into this opportunity, it's what you're going to get out of it. And I would say that my time at Dominican wouldn't be as fruitful or as empowering as it was if I hadn't taken service learning. And so I'm really glad that I was able to conclude my last year here at Dominican by taking my last service learning class and being able to work with another community partner. And so before we end for the night, I wanted to do a reflection piece with all of you guys here today. And so this is an activity we like to do for every service learning orientation. So if all of you guys can get your phone out or like a piece of paper, and we're going to think about what we would like to have the opportunity to do at our service learning partners this coming semester. And so some prompts that you can use are writing down your intention for or your goals for this semester of service learning. And so some of the sentence starters can be I can, I will, I am, I want, or I hope. And I'll give you guys a couple minutes to do that. And then once you guys have like typed it out or write it or written it, I'm just going to ask you guys to hold it up to the screen like this, and then turn on your cameras as well if you guys are comfortable. And we're going to take a group picture. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes for that. All right, then thank you guys for all taking part in our reflection piece and coming to our service learning orientation tonight. We thank you guys for all coming. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to stop by for our office hours at the Edge office, as well as if you have any questions for now, you guys can stay after the Zoom too. But we hope you guys have a great time at service learning, and feel free to reach out at any point.
Thank you so much, all of you. So appreciate, thank you everyone who came. I hope you have a great semester. We're here for you. I think I just want to see myself little flower emojis. It's my new thing.